race fans, Ryan Aho here, sporting my 29 Star apparel. I don't know if we're probably going to get more hate mail for that, by the way, just to let you know. The only person more hated on podcast, Bert, is Jeff Krause. Okay, that's the only person more hated, but he's a buddy of mine. So I'll sport some red today. And, of course, the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, I see you got some summer attire on, business casual at work. No more parkas. I mean, racing is here. How's it going over in eastern Wisconsin?
It's going good. Saturday night, Shawano Speedway got their opener in. Mid-May. It has to be one of the latest openers ever for a regular season there. So, but it was good to be back at the track, and hopefully we'll continue to have some decent weather.
Yeah, knock on wood right here. So, of course, this episode, episode 177, brought to you by our friends over at Zeuli's Race Engines. Bert, all you got to do is go to Zeuli's Race Engines on Facebook, and it started. It has started. Multiple feature winners, first-time winners. I mean, I tell you what, the floodgates are open. Zeuli's Race Engines to Victory Lane. We're going to see this all summer long, right? If you can't beat them, join them. If you want to win races, they got the power. If you want to win championships, they have the durability. Get a hold of them, Zeuli's Race Engines, and you won't be sorry. I can assure you of that. So on today's show, Bert, new little segment here, hot laps. I mean, every race program needs to start with hot laps, okay? Some knuckleheads over there in Wissota country don't believe in hot laps. We're going to talk about that briefly. Our top 5 moments of the week, some fan feedback. We had some really good ones here this week. Who's hot? Who's not? Our weekly pick'ems, and of course, our bold predictions. We'll get into that here at the end of the race. Quite the week for Mr. Bert Lehman and the bold predictions there. I don't know, old Rye guy here kind of tracking you down a little bit there, Bert. So we'll get to that. So let's start with some hot laps. Like I said, every racing program should start with hot laps. It just is what it is. You got to start with that. Before we get into that, a little shout out, Bert, Impact Health Sharing. So self-employed people, business owners, if you pay for your own health insurance, right? If you're paying too much, if you don't have it because you don't want to pay too much, I might have an alternative for you. 218-969-1380. We'll see if we can get you a better price than what you're paying today on your healthcare costs. And families coming in around $600 a month, $2,500 combined total family deductible. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call. I'd love to see if I can help you out. Impact Health Sharing. So, Bert, let's start with you. Eastern Wisconsin. Bert, you finally is that your first race of the year?
Yes, that's my first race of the year.
We're going to let you talk about Eastern Wisconsin. Not only, of course, some highlights from over at the big half mile there in Shawano, but give us a couple things. I know Plymouth had some late model stuff going on. I know that there's a couple other tracks that race too, but the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, Plymouth, they got their second week of the Super 6 late model series in. They're having 6 late model shows this year at Plymouth. In addition to, I believe there's one Dirt Kings race scheduled there. But anyway, Scheffler started on the front row again, and I'm having a loss for his first name.
Taylor Scheffler.
Yes.
Redemption there, Bert. Redemption for Taylor Scheffler. He gave one away last week.
He gave one away, and he wound up winning the race, and I believe Brad Miller was second and Justin Ritchie was third. So the same 3 drivers finished in the top 3 as the first week, just in a different order from the first week, because the previous week it was Brad Miller, then I think Ritchie, and then Taylor Scheffler. So
did he drive away from the field, or was it kind of contested, or did he check on him?
I'm not sure if he checked out on them or not. I didn't watch the feature. But
Dirt Race Central, they got all
I know
official streaming. a shameless plug here. Official streaming platform of the One to Go Show, Dirt Race Central. Super pumped to have them over in Eastern Wisconsin.
It was my granddaughter's dance recital yesterday, so I was at a dance recital yesterday, so I didn't have as much time to catch up on racing action, because I had to go back and watch the falls feature in the heat races. So I did watch that though, but we'll get into that later.
We'll get into falls. We'll get ballsy in just a little bit here.
Shawano Speedway and 141 Speedway, they both got their first shows of the year in on Saturday night. Shawano Speedway had, I believe it was 18 late models, which is a good count. I mean, all things considered. And
it's not 25.
What's that?
It's not 25.
Well, no, but Gunner Frank wound up winning the late model feature. Unfortunately, and hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come, but the track rubbered up during the late model feature, and there wasn't a lot of passing, but Mike Mullen led the first 11 laps or so, and then Gunner coming out of two, Mullen slipped up just a little bit on the track, and Gunner ducked underneath him, and Gunner was fast. I mean, he could keep that car right down on the bottom by the tires, and he was fast. There was a caution with 3 laps to go. Nick Avalink started the restart in 5th place, so he would have been starting on the outside. It's always fun to watch him, because during the caution, he went to the high side in 1 and 2 and revved it up, stepped on the gas to see what was up there, and there wasn't anything up there. So on the restart, a couple of cars kind of parted ways, and he just ducked down low, and he wound up finishing 2nd. But he didn't have anything for Gunner. Gunner was definitely the best car in that feature.
I don't hold anything, Bert, against these tracks. I mean, opening night, we've seen rough tracks, we've seen bone dry, rubbered up. I mean, they get opening night jitters too, right? Track prep, all that. So
I mean, I'm not.
That's good racetrack normally.
In no way am I, being negative. It's the first week, so I mean, basically, in the first couple weeks, you want the track to be smooth.
Right.
You want it to be racy, but you don't want it to be a plowed field. So, you kind of have to kind of pick and choose what you want. But yeah, I'm sure they'll have some really racy surfaces throughout the year. So, I'm not too worried about that. The track conditions were totally different than what they were at Outagamie Speedway on Friday night.
Little hammer down, was it over there or what?
Yeah. They had some rain during the day, I think, and the track was very, very heavy. They delayed the races, the start of the race time, because they actually got the grader out there to try to grade the slime off of it. And, whenever you're doing that, it's not necessarily a good deal. And, so it was a hammer down track. They had like 194 cars for their opening night of racing. They had 6 divisions racing, and they had 190 some cars. And I wasn't there, but I read reports where they were approaching 11 o'clock and they were still racing the heat races, and they have an 11 o'clock curfew there.
Oh boy.
They went past the curfew and they raced until midnight, from what I read. But they only got 2 features in, and I don't think one of those features was actually a full feature. So, Mother Nature threw their wrench in, and, they wanted to get the show in, and you have to give them credit for trying and busting their tails out.
Did it stay smooth? Have you heard? Did it sound like it at least stayed smooth?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how rough or smooth it was. I know it was hammer down. And I mean, some people were on Facebook saying, boy, that's the best racing I've seen in a long time, because we have dry tracks up here a lot, so people like to see the raw power of these cars every now and then, even if there's no passing. It was hammered down. But I'm sure things will get better for them. But I was thinking about that. And, I thought about this last year too, because like 141 Speedway, they'll race 6 divisions and they'll get 180 cars for a weekly show. How many cars is too many for a weekly show?
Bert, that's a good question. I mean, it depends how fast they can get it in, right? I mean, let's face it, in my opinion, if you have that many cars, I don't know how the points work for IMCA, but like WISSOTA, there's no heat points, right? So you don't need to have like a whole bunch of 7-car heat races. Have big heats. Get the program going. I mean, that's a challenge. You get that many cars, you got to battle with the track, you got to battle with cautions, you got to battle with time, and you want to stick to that 3-hour, 3.5-hour window.
Right.
It's kind of a coin toss, right? Because on one hand, you're like, well, we want to get the show going here. People don't want to sit in the grandstands all night. Do you know how the crowd was over there? Did they get a pretty big crowd too?
Yeah. From what I've heard, they had a big crowd there. I mean, somebody posted a picture. I mean, there's a long line of people waiting to get in. I mean, people want to see racing. It's been a long spring over here. So, I'm sure that played into the mind of, we're not going to cancel this. People want to see racing. People are going to come. And people did come there. Cars came there. Fans came there. Unfortunately, Mother Nature threw a little bit of a monkey wrench in it.
Right.
But even from a promoter standpoint, and just say that the weather's perfect, that say it's sunny, not a cloud in the sky, you get 180 cars, you have to pay 180 drivers payout. And if your grandstand attendance is going to be the same whether you have 100 cars or 180 cars, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, would it though? Right?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
How many of those people in the grandstands are there for a specific driver or drivers? If you start taking away a couple classes, you lose 50 cars. Well, how many of those fans would be like, well, I came to watch that guy or that gal or whoever? I mean, if they're filling the grandstands, right, and they're filling the pits, that means they have an amazing culture over there. I mean, the time thing, I get it, but if they're still filling the grandstands each and every week, right? If it's full, if they're doing that, I don't know that I maybe question too much of what they're doing, because
I'm not questioning what they're doing. I'm just curious, is there a magic number as to how many cars a promoter actually wants at their weekly show?
Yeah, it can go both ways, right? Because in my eyes as a fan, if you can get 2 solid heats, right, say 14 to maybe 18 cars in a class, you're still going to have a plenty entertaining race. If you have more than that, right, if you have, I don't know how many classes, how many cars per class and all that, but if it ends up being more than that, the benefit can be, nothing against people that are new, but if they have a long enough V-main where they can still get some laps, when they get to the features, the top cars are in the feature, and the guys maybe that didn't make the feature get weeded out, so you don't have as many yellows in the feature. There's a lot of variables.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm sure they're
only Puka likes 10-hour race programs.
I'm sure they're not going to have that many cars every week throughout the season. As this was opening week. So many tracks have been delayed so far this year, so everybody was stomping at the bit to get on the track or to watch some racing. So
what night do they run?
Friday nights, and they really don't have any competition on Friday nights.
Well, there you go. I'll tell you what, that speaks volumes for racing over in eastern Wisconsin. I think a lot of tracks in WISSOTA country are extremely jealous of those car counts. Any other big news from this past weekend over in eastern Wisconsin?
Jaden Schmidt he raced at Plymouth last week in the Super 6 late models, but he raced his late model at Shiloh Speedway, pulled off during the heat race, and didn't race. I didn't realize he wasn't in the feature until after the feature was over, and it's like Jaden Schmidt wasn't in the feature. And then they posted it on Facebook. They were pulling the motor out the next day, so he has some motor issues. So not a good way to start a rookie season in the late model division.
No, my buddy Brian, they had practice down at Sycamore this past weekend, and he got his car all ready to go. And I'm not sure what happened. I'm not going to say the engine builder to throw anybody under the bus, but it made one lap in practice, Bert, and it came out the bottom. He was sick to his stomach. So hopefully they get that figured out.
And then in the IMCA Sport Mod division, Tyler Sobieschek, his car was smoking badly in the heat race, and it was a motor issue. And I had read he posted on Facebook that he tried to do a Trent Nolan. I don't know if last year Trent Nolan blew a motor in his IMCA stock car in his heat race. His crew went to the shop, took the motor out of the other car, brought it to the track, and they put that motor in. So he sent some of his crew members to the shop to get his other motor, but he had to race a B feature where Nolan didn't have to race a B feature. So they ran out of time putting the other motor in. So he couldn't race the B feature. And that's got to be terribly disappointing, because I would assume he was going for the points championship. He's raced in that division a long time, and he's always been near the front, and he's always had like one bad week or whatnot. And he has one bad week in 1 week.
Yeah, that's not a good, when you miss the feature altogether, I mean, that can put behind the eight ball. So he's got a lot of work to do. See if he can maybe make some ground up early in the season. So time will tell. So let's jump over to Wissota country, Bert. And race fans, we're not going to get into all the recaps, right? Tune in this week. We didn't do them last week. There just wasn't enough racing. Tune in this week. We're going to have full recap shows for each class, and the power rankings are all together for all the top classes in Wissota country. Stay tuned for that if you want a full outlook of what happened. Now, a couple things that stuck out to me. Fiesta City Speedway, Montevideo, Minnesota. Weather kind of played a factor. Shane Sobraski, the Ironman, he's the guy to beat in the super stocks. Well, Trevor Nelson held off the 7-8 Bert. He did it last year at the 100. Trevor Nelson did it again at Fiesta City. Yeah, he started in front of him. Shane never really got too terribly close. So a great start for Trevor Nelson. In the late model division, everybody talks about rockets. They talk about Longhorns, right? They talk about all that. Max Nelson has a 28 special. Got it, right? He got it from Jeff Provenzino and, of course, Wissota MB country. He actually got to the inside of our very own Jordan Tollickson, almost took the win, got held up in lap traffic, had a really good run. Keep an eye on Max Nelson in that 28 special. Red Cedar Speedway, they had the 7th annual Randy Bus Icebreaker. Who's Randy Bus? Bert, I don't know about you, but when they have memorial races, I kind of like to know a little bit about who's a memorial race about. I know who Randy Bus is, right? Randy Bus was a long time Wissota tech director. He was the head tech director for Wissota. Now, it wasn't a paid position when nothing against Wissota now, but it was not a paid position back in the day, right? So he was heavily involved with Wissota for a number of years, had a passion. He built a lot of cars, built engines, had a great passion. His daughter, Amy, serves on the board at the Red Cedar Speedway. We lost Randy Bus here a few years back, but he did a lot over in Menominee, Wisconsin. Late models, Pat Dorr, mods, Shane Halapka, but the super stocks, Bert. This kid that won in the supers was 15 for 15 at his home track in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada last year. Cole Chernosky came down to the States. Last year, he won right away in the beginning of the year in the Midwest Mod at Menominee. This year, he won in the super stock. Rookie Dave Simpson got 4th. So Team Canada looking pretty darn sporty in them supers. Jeff Ekdahl won in the street stock class. That was good as well. Now, Eagle Valley Speedway, Bert, Jimtown, that's not Wissota, but they might as well be because they're all kind of Wissota classes, right? 14-year-old second-generation driver, Caden Blazer, absolutely curb stomped him. Just absolutely thumped him in the modified division. This kid is going to be good. He's won races in the Midwest Mod. I believe it was his first win in the A Mod. I am super excited to watch some of these young kids just excel at a high level. In the super stocks.
That was in the A Mod?
That was in the A Mod.
He's 14 and racing in A-Mod.
Killed him. Absolutely
Wow.
killed him. Yeah, killed him. So speaking of the A-Mods, Kennedy Swan's in an A-Mod too. I think she's the same age. She's 14 or 15. Super stock, this was kind of the quote of the week. Kurt Myers, and multi-time national champion. He built a car for his kid, a super stock. He's figured, I'm going to go out and test drive this thing, and he just give him an ass whooping. I mean, he's good in a super. Gets down in victory lane, and he's like, yeah, I built this car for the kid, but they're down on vacation playing tiddlywinks or something. We're here winning features. So you can tell he was like, the wife brought the rest of the family on vacation. He's like, I built a freaking race car. The kid should be here. But when the kid comes back, that car's ready to go. It's super fast. Kurt Myers, extremely good in the supers. B-Mods, they had Hope for Heather. So Mike Widman is a really good Midwest mod driver in that area. And his wife, Heather, stage 4 cancer. Not a good deal. So they put together kind of a little deal for her. And Flying Ryan Olson took home the $1,000 to win payday, just hustled on the high side. Widman came up through the pack, got second. So that was a pretty cool thing, being able to see him have a good run for that deal. And, prayers to Heather and Heather Widman. Hopefully that she can find a way to get past this and have a long life. I mean, a lot of people have, so we can have a lot of hope. Saturday, Bert, the best WISSOTA racing of last weekend was at the Devil's Playground in Devil's Lake, North Dakota. So Darn TV is how you watch it. Okay, you can watch these races on Darn TV. It was the NLRA late model opening night. Brody Troff Rubin absolutely stomped him. Strand got to him a little bit in lap traffic, but boy, did that kid make some moves, Bert. I tell you what, he kind of split him a little bit, did a couple cool things in lap traffic. He's a mutter. The track was, I would say, as close to falls as you can get, because the moisture on the bottom had a cushion on the top, and you flat out hustle around that place. Midwest Mods, Canadian Austin Hunter threw a pretty cool slider on Jory Berg to take the win. But the street stock race, Joey Peterson, I'm not sure if you heard that name, late model guy, races up in Grand Forks, really good driver, has had a great career, still racing. His kid, Tucker Peterson, one of the up-and-comers in the street stock class, phenomenal race car driver. Right away, first lap, second lap, he gets into the guy, one of the locals at Great Josie, I think, turns him around, gets put to the back. Comes from last, Bert. White flag comes out, down the back straightaway, and there's 3 cars there. They're in lap traffic. He bangs the berm, diamonds it, and they come off. And it was like a photo finish. Race of the week was the street stocks, of course, at the Devil's Lake Speedway. Hats off to the crew at Devil's Lake for a great track over there. And then Sunday, Bert, the Granite City Motor Park opened up in Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. She was a dandy. They put new clay on here, Bert, about 2.5 weeks ago. And it was rough. And it was one of those deals where cancel. They canceled everything at the beginning of the year, right? Snow, rain. Finally, it's one of those days where it's 70 plus degrees out. It's sunny. They're driving around the track with equipment. They're like, I think it's going to be okay. You can't cancel, right? The place, everybody go nuts if they cancel on a sunny day. Well, when the sun went down and the moisture came up, Bert, it was a rodeo track. Again, hard to knock a track on opening night with new clay and all that, but Grand Rapids, I helped them a little bit. They went through that here the last couple of years, and it's just a bad deal. I mean, it's not for lack of effort. They worked their ass off to try to make that thing nice, and I think it's going to take a week or two to kind of get it into shape. Ryan Gerke, Mullet Nation, he wanted the modified. He come across the checkered, left rear tire, flew right off the race car. Like it busted the wheel and everything. That's like Mod 4s and Hornets ripping the right front off. Dennis Zeck actually won the supers. Sobraski got the lead, broken axle. Jordan Hinkemeyer went to take the lead and got himself into the fence. Jake Smith, the reigning national champ, won the Midwest Mods. I'm going to have to give some donkey awards here at Granite City. Not to the promoter, not to the track prep crew. So relax. It's not for that. Bert, in the Midwest Mod division, and people can look at my race pass to see who, right? There was multiple drivers that got disqualified in heat races. Do you know why they got disqualified? They didn't go to the scales. Come on. How is that a thing, right? How is it like, you know that you have to go to the scales. Like, how? So drivers, I'm gonna start calling people by name. You forget the scale, make a fist, punch yourself in the head because you're a dumbass. Okay, you can't forget the scale. That is just unbelievable to me. I don't get it.
And if you're a driver that going to a new track, you can't use that. You can't use the excuse either. You didn't know where the scale is, because that's your responsibility before the race is. Find out where the scale is and find out where you need to go after the race.
It's one of the most basic things in all of motorsports. The top X amount of drivers go to the scale, go to the tech area, and that's it. I mean, I don't get it. I literally do not understand how that is even a thing, but I guess it's about as bad as people having tires fall off in parade laps. Things happen that shouldn't happen. It just makes me scratch my head. So, Bert, a lot more recaps on the WISSOTA stuff. Just go to, stay tuned later on this week for the recaps of power ranking shows. We'll go into a little bit more detail on each of those events. But our top 5 moments of the week, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. Of course, Buck, right, the founder of this company, in the Hall of Fame, the NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. Very smart individual, a lot smarter than this guy, I promise. Okay, now he has a lot of different products out there, but they're staple. Their big product right now is their tire treatment products. Why? Because tires are freaking expensive, Bert. Like, you can get them this year. There's no shortage, right? But my goodness, it's insane how much they cost. So these are actually environmentally friendly. There's a lot of different products out there in tire treatments, Bert, that you want to wear rubber gloves. You don't want to touch this stuff. This stuff, eco-friendly. It's definitely something that is not like those other products. So why do you want to check this stuff out? If there's a product out there, right, that will help you get more nights out of your tires and still be competitive, keeping money in your pocket, would it be worth at least getting educated about it to figure out if this is a good fit for you or not? If you want that to be the case, if you want to learn more about this, call Chad. Chad's number 507-828-3536. That's Chad. He can get you all the information you need on these great products they have to offer. Also, Bert, the Gen X late models, they have them at Fergus Falls, Montevideo, and Madison. Basically, the crate late models, limited late models, whatever you want to call them. He put together a $10,000 point fund combined between the 3 tracks for that class, because he's like, I like that class. A lot of people make fun of it. They're like, oh man, they're limited late models. It's a hell of a lot cheaper, and it doesn't matter what class you're running. I mean, who wants to go spend $80,000 a year to make $1,000? I mean, this class here is a great class, and he's putting the money back into the sport. So thanks a lot to Buck for that. So number 5, Bert, number 5. I'm excited for this kid's future. Blake Adams, son of the human highlight reel, Buzzy Adams, grandson of both Dave Adams and Tim McMahon, jumped up into a Midwest mod, had a great career. I mean, I'm talking like insane amount of wins in various divisions in the go-kart world. Took home his first heat win, right? This weekend was his first weekend in a Midwest mod. Took home his first heat win, and future's bright. Keep an eye on this kid. I mean, a lot of people are like, it's a heat win. Who gives a shit? It's a kid in a B mod winning. Relax. Watch the show. It's going to be a fun deal. The only thing that sucks, though, is when he starts getting really good, I have a feeling the old buzzsaw is going to maybe hang up the steering wheel and focus on that. As a race fan, I want to see Buzzy race more, not less. So, number 4, talked about it already. I hit on it, and I probably shouldn't have, because I have it on our top 5 donkey award to me. Okay, race of the week by far in the WISSOTA area, the WISSOTA Street Stock A Main at the Devil's Lake Speedway over in North Dakota. Tucker Peterson, second generation superstar in the street stock class. Bert, it couldn't have been, 3-4 inches. It was like 3/100ths or 3/1000ths of a second at the line. It was that close. He came from last. He got put to the back early. Came from dead last, went 3 wide at the line. Came up just a little bit short. Seth Fostrike, congratulations. Great win for you. Bert, number 3, what do we got?
Don't we know, well, the Packers always like to play the prevent defense, and it never works. It never works. And it doesn't work in racing either. Because Anthony, how do you spell it?
Macri. Anthony Macri.
Took advantage of it and won the World of Outlaw feature, the first one of last week.
Yeah, Lincoln, PA. Of course, Brent Marks, who won a couple big races last week or last year, he's leading this thing, Bert, right? They're not in lap traffic, nothing. Literally, he's leading, and Macri pokes it down to the inside, and Mark's got a big run down the back straightaway. It's like, well, he can get in there harder, but he's not going to come off the corner. Well, it's spooked. It spooked Marks because he went down to the bottom then on the last 2 circuits, right? And when he did that, Macri went up top, literally drove right around him where he was. It's like, I don't know if he had somebody giving him signals that moved him down, because sometimes them signal sticks, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I don't know if they're a thing in World of Outlaws or not. But needless to say, he saw him to the inside. He moved down, tried to block the slider, tried to block him from winning, and he went by him like he was on jack stands. So the prevent defense don't work for the Vikings. It don't work for the Packers, and it does not work for Brent Marks either. Just saying. Bert, did you watch any NASCAR stuff this week?
Yes, I watched the last 30 laps. And I mean, we kind of talked about this last week. Ross Chastain was near the front, so it's like, I got to watch this and see what happens.
Something's gonna happen. So last year he had a video game move, right? Where he was at Martinsville, where he just carved the high side to make it into the chase, right? Into the final round. Well, there's kind of a video game move here too, because I don't know what stage of the race it was, but he was side by side with Larson, and they got together, and he came up and Larson came down. Either way, he got turned into the fence, and Larson, like you would on a video game, literally pushed him sideways all the way down the straightaway.
Yeah, that was the last lap.
That was the last lap. Okay, I wasn't sure. I saw the highlights.
Yes, that was the last lap. Well, they had a restart, and Larson was on the inside, and Chastain was on the outside, and Larson squeezed him up near the wall. Didn't hit him. But then another caution came out, and then by the time the caution came out, Chastain was actually ahead of Larson by about that much. So then Chastain got to pick the lane that he wanted to start in, so he chose the inside, and he tried to do the same thing, squeeze him up near the wall. But I mean, he got ahead of him a little, and then he squeezed him, and then he kind of ran into him and turned, and then he got sideways, and Larson pushed him down the track. And
the night before, though, in the Xfinity race, Larson wasn't afraid of contact there, so I'm just
I didn't see that one. I heard about it, but I didn't see that one. But I mean, that's 3 out of the last 4 races, Chastain has caused an accident that Larson has been involved in. And Larson was so disgusted, he didn't even talk to reporters. He just left the track.
Yeah, they talked to Hendricks after.
Yes.
And Hendricks, he's like, if he keeps doing that, we will retaliate. Like he gives us one, he's getting one back. And Hendricks even went on to say, he goes, he's a talented racer. He just needs to settle down a little bit.
Well, it's funny because Hendrick was trying to ease the blow on the sponsors because they both drive Chevys. So Hendrick said, I know he drives a Chevy, we drive a Chevy, but Chevy's got to understand that, we're not going to take this.
I like me some Ross Chastain. It makes it interesting, right? I every time he's out there, it's because something crazy is going to happen. I mean, I'm surprised that he even raced, though, because wasn't it last week where he punched Noah Gregston? And he's, so I don't know what he must have got a fine or maybe some points.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about penalties. So I'm not sure what the penalty was. I would think he would have gotten at least a fine.
I thought he would have got suspended, but hey, hats off to NASCAR for not, because let boys be boys. Kyle Busch, they talked to him and he's like, hey, look, here's the deal. The only thing they did wrong with that deal when Chastain punched Gregston is the security came in like 10 seconds too early because Noah Gragson didn't get a chance to punch him back. Like,
Right.
He's like, let him go for 30 seconds or a minute or so. And if somebody's getting a clear upper hand, break it up. But do that stuff, put it on TV. You'll pack the place. Ratings will be through the roof. That's what they got NASCAR on the map to begin with. So interesting stuff in the NASCAR world. That was for our boy Brad there, big NASCAR guy. And number one on the list, let's get Falsey. I'm telling you what, man. I mean, this place, I don't know how I didn't even hear about it until just a couple of years ago. It's existed. Thank God for streaming, right? If it weren't for seeing this place on Flow, I never would have known it was a thing. But unbelievable race again. A lot of drama. So the smooth operator, Bobby Pierce, capitalizing on massive amounts of mayhem, right? And it didn't even involve the 32. That's crazy, right? Usually he's kind of in the mix. He wasn't. He got the win, $30,000 payday. So let's break this one down a little bit. So a couple things here that happened. So coming through this race, Dennis Erb Jr. actually won one at Illinois earlier this week. Looked really good on the bottom. Big, there was a rain delay, so it was more moisture than normal. Big, aggressive cushion. Not like a cushion where you can just come in and bang off it. A cushion where you better have big boy balls and you better not lift or you're going to get turned into the fence. As Ricky Thornton Jr. learned down the front straightaway, he got hooked into the fence, right? Well, Hudson O'Neal, who has been very good as of late. He's been the number one late model driver, in my opinion, thus far in 2023. He's storming the high side, right? I mean, he's like hair on fire, carving it on the top. He's getting huge runs. He gets a run on Dennis Erb Jr., shuts the door. No harm, no foul. He lifted, crossed him over. They get down into turn number one, and Bert, all hell breaks loose. I mean, literally, he got in there, and on initial eyesight, I'm going to ask what you thought of this. On initial eyesight, I'm like, oh my God. Hudson O'Neal literally drove right over the top of Dennis Erb Jr., and Shannon Babb got collected in it. And I've since watched it a bunch of times, several times, slow motion, all that stuff. Bert, needless to say, Dennis Erb Jr. went to the back on that deal because he was the only car that stopped. Shannon Babb was done.
Shannon Babb stopped, and he was sent to the back, but he went into the pits. Erb didn't stop, but the driver's side was exposed to oncoming traffic, and the rule is if that happens, the caution is on you. So then he got sent to the back.
That is correct. Thanks for clarifying that. So your thoughts on that? I don't know if you got to watch slow mo.
Yes.
I mean, what's your thoughts?
My initial reaction was, that Huddy just drove over the top of him. And I was upset about that because he took out two Illinois drivers that were running near the front. And I needed an Illinois driver to win the race.
You still got one, so it all worked out for you.
And, but then, they kept showing the replay, and then I watched it some more, and I think Huddy was over aggressive. He should have been more patient. But it's kind of the case of the B1 bomber at Mississippi Thunder. You can't lay claim to the entire track because Erb came out of 4 low. He drifted up to the high side, so Huddy couldn't pass him on the outside down the front straight, and so then Huddy ducked to the inside, and their tires had to be even with each other, front tire to front tire. They had to be even, and it was an aggressive move by Hudson O'Neal, but Erb can't claim the high side and the low side and the middle. I mean, he's kind of got to pick a lane. I mean, Huddy took the low side because Erb went high. So, Erb's kind of got to give him that low side.
And I tell you what, Huddy got absolutely vilified on social media. Oh, he's a hack, spoiled, entitled kid, this and that and the other. Like, he got karma because later on in the race, he's leading it. He loses the lead, right, to Pierce, and he starts charging the high side, making up ground, and he absolutely yard sailed it into the fence in 1 and 2. And everybody's like, "Oh, he had that coming. That's good for him. That's karma." Well, so my boys on the Dirt podcast, right? We were texting during this deal, and they're like, "Hey, that was all Huddy." I'm like, "You guys are out of your freaking mind." And we're arguing back and we're gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you guys up, right? So first thing. My buddy Kraus, right? He goes, the leader can do whatever they want. Leader has lane choice. That's bullshit, right? If you've been racing in point average, which this is not, Dennis Erb Jr. got the lead fair and square with qualifying and all that. In our former WISSOTA racing, that whole the leader didn't earn nothing. The leader usually can't walk and chew gum.
But
right? So,
if you want to say the leader gets his choice of lane, that's fine. I mean, his choice was a high side coming down the straightaway, and O'Neill went to the inside. So Erb chose the outside, but in the corner he wanted the inside, but Huddy was there.
Yeah, I agree totally. So he got inside of him, and it was yes, people go to the fence, they arc it, and that's, you got to come back down. But it was clear that he went up, arced it, blocked Huddy. Huddy made a beautiful move, crossed him over, got to the inside. He was literally all the way against the tires on the bottom, kept his car straight, never shoved up to the racetrack, contacts made. At the end of the deal, it's a racing deal. I don't think it was a dirty move by anybody. I think it was a racing deal, and it just
like I said, I think Huddy was over aggressive. I mean, he actually took if you read his comments, he took the blame because he was over aggressive.
Right.
But you gotta fall. I mean, you have a split second to decide. I mean, he had a hell of a run coming off of 4. So right. He had a split second to decide, am I going high or going low? He couldn't go high because Erb was there. So it was either check up or go down to the low side.
And really what happened, I think Dennis Erb Jr. got spooked, right? Because, I mean, I don't think he's ever had anybody inside of him before. Like, he's always so far on the bottom. So I think he was like, well, what the hell is that? Like, I don't think he expected a car to be there because he's so good on the bottom. So end of the day, bad deal. We all like Dennis Erb Jr. It's hard not to. It would have been fun to see him battle for the win. I don't see Huddy as a hack. I don't see him as a dirty driver.
Well,
he's aggressive. He's fun to watch, but he's not turbo and he's not Bobby Pierce.
If you remember later in the race, I mean, I believe it was Pierce did a slider on him, and O'Neill had to check up big time. Otherwise, he would have rammed right into him.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in just a second. So, new name for all you Huddy faders, right? We'll go back to the Don O'Neill days. We got Bend Your Steel, the new deal, Hudson O'Neill, right? So, let's jump into some fan feedback, Bert. But first, a shout out to our friends at buyraceshirts.com. You know, whether you for racers, Jordan Tollefson already got a couple wins in the late model this year. Former national champion in WISSOTA. So if you need hats, you need shirts, you need hoodies, jackets, any kind of apparel, whether it's for your race team, for your sponsors, businesses, clubs, you name it, check out buyraceshirts.com. A lot of different ways that you can purchase, different quantities. Great group to work with down in Montevideo, Minnesota. So we're going to get to that one. Actually, let's go to that one first, since we're on that. So Mike asked, did stick signals win the race at Falls, and should they be allowed?
I mean, obviously I don't know who is giving stick signals and stuff, but I mean, it's usually Bobby's dad that has the sticks, right?
Yep.
And I believe that he was kind of directing Bobby as to high or low. And because if Bobby would have stayed low the entire time, I don't think he wins.
I think Huddy was going to drive right by him.
Right.
And this is where Bobby was extremely patient. Like, he ran the bottom until he had to go high, then he took off. And it's like, that was one of his better races. That was impressive. But I absolutely believe that his dad is down there, one of the best stick signal guys out there. Well, one of my guy was the best, right? Jim, he was the best stick signal guy for sure. But Bob Pierce, a close second. But I guarantee he moved him up because he's running the bottom. Here comes Huddy carving the high side. Next thing you know, he takes a 3-lane change, right-hand turn to the fence. Huddy lifted. Not Dennis Erb Jr. did not lift, incidentally. Just saying. He lifted, and he never got the lead back. It was at that point he tried, but that kind of messed up his rhythm a little bit. Never quite got back by him. Should stick signals be allowed?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say, I mean, Huddy was fast on the high side, but it was a fine line because his car was not. If you watched him, especially in 1 and 2, normally in a corner, your wheels are turned. I mean, his wheels would be straight in the corner because he was struggling so bad to make it through the corner, but he was fast when he hit it right. But as far as stick signals, I would prefer that they not be used. Just let the drivers duke it out on the track without knowing, who's high, who's low, and that sort of thing.
Never happened. The problem is it'll never happen, right? So it's like one of those rules where you can make the rule, but are you really accomplishing anything? Because I promise you this. I promise you. Even at events where stick signals are not legal, they're using different ways, hats, different things to communicate with their driver. Ever since there's been 2 cars competing in a race of any kind, there's been somebody signaling the drivers on where to go. It just is it's part of the sport. And some people are like, oh, it's terrible. It's happened forever. I've even seen people, Bert, right, that have been racing for a long time. I've never used stick signals. Well, yeah, you don't win either. So there's that. I'm just saying, it's a huge advantage. If you're allowed to use stick signals and you're not, you're a dumbass. I'm just saying, right? Because it's a huge advantage, especially if you're leading. You don't know what the track's doing, right? You don't know if somebody's coming on the high side or this side's better high and that side's better low. You don't know what's going on. When you're out front and you have nobody to gauge off of, especially – for Bobby, he knows that place, but you go to a place that you don't really know, some of these traveling series and all that. I'm telling you what, if you can use them and you're just dumb. I don't really understand why you wouldn't use them, but but I get your point.
Well, and the thing is, using stick signals, that's just another thing that just showcases how great these drivers are. To be racing at a small track like Falls, where there's action everywhere, and not only are you concentrating on trying to get around the track, you're looking to see what lane you're supposed to be racing in.
Therefore, I recant my previous statement, because there's some people that have a very difficult time keeping it straight when they're focusing. Look at the racetrack. If you're that guy, look at the racetrack, okay? But no, in all seriousness, they can outlaw it all day long, but people are going to find ways around it. It's just going to happen. It's part of the sport. Absolutely. Bobby Pierce got moved to the top of that racing surface, and that got him the win. So we got another one here from Brad. So in the Castro Flow Racing Night in America race at Lincoln, the one Hudson O'Neal won, there's a caution at the end of the race. Green checkered. His question is, what is with this whole green checkered nonsense? Okay. In the history of this, which has only been like a year, I don't know when this started, like last year or whatever, there has literally never been a good finish that I can even think of that was a green checkered 1-lap dash. It is literally a buzzkill. Just, if you're going to go that road, just throw the checkered, call it a day, or give the fans what they want, which is a green, white checkered finish. Bert, your thoughts on this green checkered stuff?
No, I agree. Every race should end. If you're coming off a caution, it should be a green, white checkered. I agree with that. I don't like the green checkered.
So here we go. We're gonna boycott. We're gonna start a movement here. Hammer on Ben Shelton, Rigsby, Jarrett, right? Lucas Oil, get a hold of them guys, Schwally, like just mass amount of social media, emails, just hammer them. And green checkered, go back to green, white checkered, hammer them, and tell them Bert Lehman told you to do so.
But be polite about it. Don't do it the way Tyler Erb does it.
Wow, yeah, because he got the Droop Rule deal, and yeah, he was kind of a little bit vocal on that. That was quite interesting.
And did you see his driver's suit last week?
I did not.
So I don't know if it's from that comment that he made or if it's from his anger management classes that he had to take, but he had a jailhouse driving suit with the black and white with stripes.
Really?
Yes.
He's an interesting character. He's starting to find a little bit of speed, so hopefully he's good for the sport. When he's on his game, it's good for dirt track racing. So he's not afraid to be a little bit vocal. He's super fun. I'm a fan for sure. Another question we got from Brett, kind of in regards to the finishes, is the single file deal. So I get it. If it locks down rubber, you got to go single file. I get it, right? But or if there's just caution after caution after caution, like we can't get it right. You got to go single file. But in some of these series, Bert, they get inside of 10 to go, and bam, it's automatic single file. Right? I mean, your thoughts?
I agree with you. You know, if the track is rubber down, yeah, then you need to go single file. But no, I don't care if it's under 10 laps. You should restart the race the way you normally restart the race. To me, it's similar to in basketball when people say, well, you can't call that foul when there's under a minute left in the game. Well, if it's a foul 1 minute into the game, it should be a foul with 1 minute left in the game. If you're restarting the race 5 laps into the race, or if you're restarting the race with 5 laps to go, it should be the same type of restart.
Especially if it's multiple lanes. If it's one lane, I get it.
Right.
But if it's multiple lanes, it's so much more entertaining for the crowd. This racing is a form of entertainment. Single file restarts are not entertaining. It's as simple as that.
I agree. Take falls, for example. You know, I watched that yesterday after I got home from the dance recital, and I didn't know the outcome, which was good. So, you know, I was, what's going to happen here? And the caution came out with like 3. Well, when Huddy hit the wall, there's like 3 laps to go or something. And I knew Shepard was running third. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to start on the outside. This is going to get good. And then the announcers go, and we're under 10 laps. So we're going to be starting single file. And it was basically follow the leader for those 3 laps. And
100%. Because I thought the same thing. When they went yellow there, I'm like, Hudson crashed. B-Shep's in third. He's going to be on the outside. And he got a terrible restart. But if he would have been on the outside on that restart, could he have made something of it? I don't understand what their logic is here with some of these things they do. But, Brett, I think you're spot on. Single file restarts are a buzzkill to dirt track racing. Got to get rid of them unless it's one lane. So Jeff here apparently wants... So this came from Jeff, race car drivers, not from Ryan, not from Bert, not from Puka, okay? So looking at the Illinois Speedway, they got a lot of moisture on the racetrack, right? And they got big cushions. I mean, they're hustling, right? I mean, it's a totally different form of racing. It just is. So you look at that, add in the fact that it rained right at Fairbury, and it's a slop hole to be, they had to kind of work the track in. Heats are a little bit greasy. He goes, our racing in Wissota country, it doesn't even look the same, right? Like everybody says all the time, oh, asphalt sucks. Dirt's for racing, not asphalt. Asphalt's for getting there. But then you got some of our drivers, they want the track to resemble asphalt, right? So, and his question was, why do our drivers across Wissota country, and I don't know that he means everybody, but just reading what he has, why do our guys get so butthurt at wet racetracks? Bert, do you have a theory on that? I do, but what do you got?
I really don't have a theory on it. I mean, I guess, so many tracks in this area are like that they just got used to it, and
Right.
anything that's not close to that, it's a bad track. I mean, we've talked about this over and over. I mean, I can remember back in the 90s, you used to have to pack the track for like an hour before the races started, because that's how much moisture they had on the track. But somewhere in the last 30 years, it's shifted to they want a hard track from top to bottom, and no cushion. And I mean, I think racing when there's a cushion is the most exciting. I mean, it doesn't need to be a large cushion like it was at Falls, but
right.
I think there has to be a cushion with some moisture so that there's a high side to race on.
And we don't want complete mud holes.
Right.
And we don't want, no knock on Granite. They tried new clay, it didn't work. They're going to get it right. We don't want like rodeo tracks where you're destroying race cars. A little character, some traction, a cushion, right? Mud at the beginning of the night, so it's good at the end of the night. Here's my theory. So I talked to a guy today, Bert. He said modifieds from a specific chassis builder, I won't mention the name, a full roller, right? You drop in your engine, $40,000 for a modified. Bert, it pays $500 to win. I mean, come on, right?
I know.
So, I mean, it's just stupid. So it flat out is more expensive to a point, right? Because if you got moisture in your track all the time, a little bit of cushion, you got some grip and some character, you don't need a $40,000 car. You don't need it. You can literally have a 7-year-old modified and be just as fast. Make the car turn, the grips in the track, go race, right? All this technology is to try to get traction for racetracks that are bone dry and look like asphalt. So, and they're dainty. These cars now are like, they're so fragile, right? You get on a rough track and they literally fall apart, right? Because everything's lightweight, flex, and all this stuff. So, it's flat out more work. I mean, that's the big thing. Nobody wants to work on these things anymore, right? It's more work. So they're like, if you get on a track like Falls or these tracks with characters, you're going to be doing body work. You're going to be fixing stuff, right? There's definitely work to be done. On the flip side, folks, look at your grandstands, right? Look at the grandstands. When there's literally 400 people in the grandstands watching boring ass dry slick racing, ask yourself why. And you're wondering why the racetracks don't pay more, right? Because nobody wants to watch the boring product that we have here as compared to Illinois. And so I think the answer to that deal is, when it says why, it's way more work, Bert, to race on them cowboy up tracks, because there is going to be some carnage and some stuff happening. So good questions by everybody. And fans, if you ever have feedback questions or anything, shoot me a text, a message, shoot Bert a text or a message. I'm kind of fun going through some of this. So let's jump into a little who's hot and who's not. And we don't have a brought to you by on this one. I moved that one. Bert, I see you kind of peeking there. It's Monday night. We're airing the show. Is a late model feature on?
No, I'm not peeking. I'm checking to see where my dog is every now and then.
Okay. I'm like, I wonder if he's got a little update for me, because they're racing their farm.
No, I stream that through my phone, and I use my phone to do the show, so I can't even have the
all right, we'll have to catch that after. So who's hot and who's not? So who do you have as far as who's hot?
The first one I'm gonna go with is, he's been on our not hot list a few times, but I'm gonna go with Brandon Shepard. Racing near home. He was in the top 5 all three features, I believe. And he started on the pole in the race that's being in the heat race for the race that's being made up tonight, and he finished second. That bummed me out because I had picked him, but maybe he can come back in the feature and still win it.
74 laps, got plenty of time. Anyone else?
I'm gonna go with Brendan Overton. The announcers made a big deal about how he doesn't run well in at the Illinois tracks, and he hasn't even been to all of the Illinois tracks that he raced at last week. And well, part of this is because of Hudson O'Neal's crash at the end, but look who's at the top of the Lucas Oil points right now by 5 points.
I have that one down too. So you got Brandon, you got a pair of Brandons. I had Brandon Overton, Lucas Oil point leader, of course. Remember, at the end of the year, you just got to be in the top 4 at the end of the year going into the Dirt Track World Championship at Eldora. And I'm just going to go with dirt track racing at Falls. I mean the racing, the atmosphere, everything about it. It is red hot. I am so jacked to get to the Prairie Dirt Classic, Bert. It's going to be a blast, and I think everybody needs to go look me up, or hey, let me know if you guys are going. If any fans are going, let me know. But Fairbury, they got it going on. It's red hot. Who's not?
I have 2 drivers. I'm gonna go with Tyler Erb. I know he ran good in the heat race of the feature that's being made up tonight, but other than that, he was kind of a non-factor for the week. I mean, he had to take an emergency provisional to make the Falls race. I mean, they had 4 emergency provisionals for the Falls race. They started 28 cars on that little track. And the other driver I'm going to go with is Jason Feger. I mean, it's his home. He's racing near home, and he failed to make any of the features except for the one we're recording this on Monday night, except for the one that's being made up tonight.
That's a good one right there. I didn't even think of him. I'm going to go with Devin Moran. There's another guy just kind of been a non-factor. He's been like nowhere to be found. And, he was so darn good, especially the beginning of last year at Speed Weeks. And then he kind of was hit and miss throughout the season. But
he doesn't seem to have an in-between. He's either really good or really bad.
Right. And I don't know his crew situation or whatever, but I'm going to go with Devin Moran. So let's jump into a little recap from last week's picks, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson Ag Solutions. So if you're a farmer, hopefully you're planting. It's planting season. I know a lot of people are getting crops in the ground, Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. Well, you want to have the right stuff in those spray packages to get better yields, better profitability. It's worth a phone call, right? Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542. Again, 320-219-3542. For racers, by racers. He's got a lot of data. He can get you all the information you need. But if there's a product out there that can make you more profitable, why not check it out and see if it can be a good fit for you? So last week, Bert, we talked about some of these, so we'll kind of skip through pretty quick. But there was a pair of Castro Flow Racing Night in America races that we picked. Spoon River, the one-man band, Dennis Erb Jr. from 7th, probably the best run he's had in a long time. Ended like a 70 race losing streak that he had. So that was a big win for him. And that was a Donnybrook. I mean, there was like 3-4 cars underneath the blanket. Pierce had a shot to win that one, if you remember. Got in the back of a lapper, lifted like it was going to be yellow. Herb went on to victory. None of us had Dennis Herb. None of us had him. But Kent and Brad both had Bobby Pierce, who got second. So they got a point. I think if he wouldn't have got that lap car, Herb was pretty strong. Was he going to win that anyway? Do you think Pierce would have got him?
I'm trying to remember how that all went down.
Herb was on the bottom. I know, shocker, right? And Pierce was carving the high side. It was a little dirty. And I don't remember who the lap car was, but they tailed a little bit and he clipped them, turned them, maybe Stormy.
That's right.
Yeah, he turned them, and then he just lifted out of the gas, and Herb was gone, no yellow. They kept racing, and it's like, well, that's that. Dennis Herb Jr. is going to win this one.
Yeah, I think Pierce would have got him without that little bit of an incident.
I think it would have been interesting because it was a little dirty up there. I think Herb might have still won it, but I guess we'll never know. Interesting tidbit here, Bert. RTJ, who was second in the Castro points, didn't make the feature.
I know.
Brandon Overton, who has been hot, he didn't make the feature, right? But what's interesting about this is they started 22 cars, had no provisionals.
I know. I was shocked by that because they didn't have provisionals, but they had the provisionals the next night.
Yes,
I didn't understand that.
Yep. So the next night is the night that Hudson O'Neill won. Kurt and myself both had Huddy, and Bishop tracked him down and looked like he was going to make a race out of it. The crowd was going bonkers for Bishop, right? They wanted that Illinois guy to win. And then they had that green checkered deal. Dennis Herb Jr. didn't make the feature in this one. He wins the night before, doesn't make the feature, was not in line for a provisional. But you're right. They had 22-car feature at Spoon River, no provisionals. Then they had a 24-car feature at Lincoln, had a pair of provisionals. It must have been like the first couple nights. I mean, it's kind of a weird deal. I don't really understand it, but I guess it is what it is. So the points in that deal right now, Marlar's leading. Huddy's 6 points back. Davenport's 9 back. Bishop is 15 back. And T-Mac is 18 back. So the top 5 in points, literally 18 points separating the top 5. Pretty tight in the Castro series. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. We had a couple of those. We talked about Macri kind of getting the gift-wrapped feature win from Brent Marks in his prevent defense. 1-2 for the PA Posse in Lincoln. Kent and Jeff both had Brent Marks, and thank you, Anthony Macri, for taking a point away from both of those guys. So appreciate that. Marks got second. Williams Grove, they were supposed to have a doubleheader. Saturday rained out. Friday night, the big cat, Brad Sweet, flat out dominated that one. Not so hot. Carl had Brad Sweet. Couple points for him. Brent Marks, incidentally, got second both nights. So still a good weekend. Probably a little bad taste in his mouth about not winning. Donnie Schatz, third place, finished there at Williams Grove. The points in that, Brad Sweet just looking for 5 straight. He's been unbelievable. Gravel 36 back, Macedo 46 back, and everybody else is over 100 back. So it's a 3-way battle right now. A lot of races left, but a 3-way battle for that lead. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models, of course, Farmer 74 going on as we speak. And then Fairbury, we talked about that race. Of course, Bobby Pierce won, Carl, and yours truly, Bert, had Pierce. So you each got 2 points on that one. So that was the races that we picked last week. So this, I'm looking, go ahead.
Just before we move on, when you brought up T-Mac's name, this just popped into your mind. He was, do you see he was driving a number 5 car?
That's right. He was driving the other Rumley car.
Yep.
Yep. The first 2 nights at the Castro races.
Yeah. In the Castro races. He was back in his regular car for the Lucas Oil races.
Right.
So
that was interesting.
Interesting to see that.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, before Kyle Larson drove for Rumley, T-Mac drove the Rumley car, house car.
Oh, he did too, because I know that JD did too. The 6, right?
Yeah, and when T-Mac raced it, it was also a number 6.
Okay. So, T-Mac was, I don't remember T-Mac in the 6. Wait, that was a while ago, huh?
No, that was right before Larson.
Oh, it was? And that tells you how much I pay attention. I had a couple of years off. All right, so our standings right now, Jeff is at 50, but old Rye guy here, yours truly, little rod and reel action. I'm 1 point back only. Mike and Kurt are 2 points out of the lead at 48. Brad and Kent are at 40. Bert's at 39. Dan's at 38. And Carl is at 26. The goal for Carl right now is to chase down old Danny boy here. But, man, there is 4 of us separated by literally 2 points, Bert. And then the next group of you are separated by 2 points as well. So a lot of racing left. I'm
just saving my tires.
Yeah.
Well,
probably.
I still don't have the trophy from last year.
Mike? Oh, Puka has that, doesn't he?
Well, Puka just sent me a package of stuff, and he should have sent the trophy too.
All right, Donkey Award to Puka. Get that trophy over here. Come on, guy. So this week, a lot of races this week, Bert. A lot of races. Castro Flow Racing Night in America, Tuesday at Marshalltown, Wednesday at Davenport. Of course, right now as we speak, right, the Farmer 74 going on. We picked that one. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, Friday at Attica, Saturday at Sharon. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, Friday at the 300 Raceway, Saturday at 34 Raceway. World of Outlaw Late Models, Friday at Marion Center, Saturday at Port Royal. With structural buildings, WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series, Friday at I-94 in Fergus Falls, Saturday at the Big O, Ogilvie, Minnesota. High Limit Sprint Car Series, Tuesday at Wayne County. Incidentally, on that one, Bert, Sheldon Hodenschild on the list to go to that high limit race. The question is he going to miss one of those other races? How's this going to work out? Because they can only miss 4 and still get that loyalty bonus or whatever it's called from World of Outlaws. So kind of keep a little bit of an eye on old Sheldon Hodenschild there. So let's jump into the last lap, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Dirt Track Supply in Watertown, South Dakota, for all things racing, safety, tires, repairs, new chassis, aero chassis, any parts you need. Get a hold of Ron and Trevor. They got a great business over in Watertown. That's Dirt Track Supply. So speaking of Watertown, speaking of the Casino Speedway family, that area mourning the loss of Troy Benson. So who is Troy Benson? Troy Benson was an announcer for a while, but let's go back. His dad, Earl Benson, was a former owner for several years, owned the Casino Speedway. Earl and Sandy Benson ran that track. He actually did a couple different things. He announced, he raced himself. Troy did. Earl Benson was also the president of WISSOTA for a number of years as well. So that all tied together, I believe 52 years old. Don't know all the details, don't know how it happened, but a lot of people knew and loved the guy. I knew him just a little bit, but thoughts and prayers to the friends, family, everybody involved in the Casino Speedway with the loss of Troy Benson. Another guy down in southern Minnesota. You've seen some pictures. If you look on the 2020 racing page, there's a kind of a station wagon looking late model like Nesbitt had, and it was Mert Williams. So Mert Williams, I think he was up in his, I don't know for sure, 70s or 80s, but lost his life in this last week as well. I saw a lot of comments, a lot of people posting and talking about Mert Williams, but a legendary racer down in southern Minnesota for many, many years, and thoughts and prayers to his family as well. So, Bert, a little bit of news on tires. Tires are what wins the race, right? And a lot of people are like, Hoosiers everywhere, right? Hoosiers this, Hoosier that, Hoosier this, Hoosier that. And a lot of sanctioning bodies are kind of nervous. They're like, well, we don't want to rock the boat. We're going to just hand them more money for no apparent reason. This other sanctioning body kind of did the opposite, Bert. What's going on there?
Yeah, the Southern All-Star Series, which has been in existence for, what, like 40-some years?
I think it's the longest running late model series still out there.
They're allowing drivers to use American Racer tires. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Competition isn't a bad thing.
And so it begins, right? So you gotta remember, Cedar Lake does this, right? And so does Jim Falls. So like with their modifieds, you can run the WISSOTA tire or you can run the American Racer. You can run either one there. It works just fine, right? There's people that have won on both of them. And I get it. A lot of people are like, well, can they meet the demand? I don't know. But this is the first big series of any kind that I've seen that has made the decision to allow another brand of tires to come in. So it'll be interesting to see if more of that happens in 2023. If you're a late model fan, I mean, there's lots. We talked about some of the national series, but this week I-94 and Ogilvie are opening up with the WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series. The Wabam Dirt King Series, Bert, opens up in Menominee at the Red Cedar Speedway on Friday. So interesting to me because WISSOTA, Menominee's a strong WISSOTA track, right? Is it interesting to you that they're having a Dirt Kings race against the 5,000 to win Challenge Series opener in Fergus Falls. Is that interesting?
It is interesting. I mean, we talked about this last year because I think it was the same situation last year. They were scheduled against a Wasota Challenge Series race or some high-paying late model race that. Right. So it's split up the cars. I'm I don't know how schedules are put together, but I'm kind of surprised that Dirt King's schedules against the Wasota Challenge Series. I mean, you could say, well, maybe Red Cedar, that's the date they wanted. I don't know the behind the scenes, but it's not just a one-time deal. I mean, later in the season, when the Dirt Kings are racing at 141 Speedway on a Saturday night, which is the same night that Shawano races, and I believe Shawano has weekly late models at their track. They scheduled a race against Shawano. They're only like hour apart from each other, but I believe there's also a Wasota Challenge Series race that night. And it's like, why, if you're going to schedule against Shawano, at least pick a night where you might get some other cars from the western part of the state. But back to Red Cedar, I'm not exactly sure what went into that scheduling, but I believe it was the same issue last year where they were scheduled against a high-paying late model show.
Over in that neck of the woods, it just doesn't seem like there's enough late models to go around for that.
Right.
I guess on the flip side, we'll go to the other side of Wasota, right? Because it's kind of sandwiched in between Dirt Kings and, of course, the repairable vehicles Tri-State Late Model Series, which, of course, Trevor Anderson won that series last year. They're opening up this weekend at the Rapid Speedway. So that's over on that other side. I think, was that Rock Rapids, Iowa, I think it is. So the question I have, and this is a little speculation here. If you look at the Wasota Challenge Series Facebook page, Bert, it has a whole bunch of drivers listed that have made the decision, right, to follow the series. They're like, because they have a loyalty program with the Challenge Series. They got some bonuses. They got a cruise deal. They got some pretty neat deals in there. One person who has not yet committed is the 2022 Challenge Series champion, Cole Searing. Okay. I don't know. Maybe he'll be at the Challenge Series. He hasn't committed yet, right? But there's maybe some speculation. There's every race over there's 1,500 to win or better for the Tri-State deal. He won a couple of them last year. He runs well at them. Some of them are at his home tracks, right? Huron, which rained out this weekend. Where do you think Cole's going to go? Is he going to go A, Challenge Series, B, Tri-State, or C, is he just going to go to Aberdeen and Casino and run the local stuff? If you were a betting man, what do you think he's going to do there?
I'll say he goes to the Challenge Series race.
I'm going to guess that you're probably right. But again, I mean, they've posted everybody that's committed. He is not yet on that list. So it'll be interesting to see if the 10 ride decides to do that. So stay tuned this weekend.
I just want to make one more point about Red Cedar Speedway hosting Dirt Kings. I mean, from their standpoint, they should get 30 cars, even going against the Challenge Series, because they should get 20 to 25. Well, let's just say 20 from Eastern Wisconsin. And if they can pick up 10 late models from Minnesota, Western Wisconsin, you have a 30 car field, which is all you really need.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know a couple of their regulars, right? Jake Radetsky, John Canta, a couple of them drivers have made the commitment to the Challenge Series.
I think last year, Chad Mader and AJ Demo raced the Dirt Kings race at Menominee, and there are a few other ones.
Yeah, and both of those, of course, going to be on Dirt Race Central, so make sure to check that out. So let's jump into our bold predictions every week. Bert and I, and if you're a fan, if you have some predictions, send them over. We can add you to this. But we make 3 bold predictions. And it's got to be something that either A, it did happen, or B, it did not happen, right? There's no in between. It's not an opinion deal. It either did or did not happen. And we had some things come off the board. We'll get into the stats. A little shout out, Mason Aaron's videos, does all of our editing for us. Check out his YouTube page. He's got a lot of great content, does a lot for the sport of dirt track racing. Just a first-class individual, Mason Aaron's videos. So, Bert, you sitting down? You're sitting down.
I'm sitting down.
You had a rough go, Bert. Earlier this year, you said there will be 25 late models at the Shawano opener. Nope.
Well, the Shawano opener was originally supposed to be a Dirt Kings race. It wasn't supposed to go head to head with the Super 6 series.
Yeah, you did not say if it's a Dirt Kings race.
No,
yeah,
I know. You're right.
That's a bad beat. That's a bad beat right there. You said Nick Anvilink will win the opener at Shawano. Young gunner Frank got it done. You also decided to jinx Trent Nolan, said he'd win the Shawano opener. That did not happen. And then you're not just happy with jinxing guys at Shawano, you got to go to Plymouth. You said Justin Ritchie was going to win at Plymouth on the podium, didn't win. Then you said World of Outlaw is going to win 2 in Pennsylvania. And you kind of like my deal with Brent Larson, you kind of got hosed out. I got hosed out of 2 nights. You got hosed out of 1. But Brad Sweet won 1, but Anthony Macri won the other one. So, Bert, that's 5 off the board there. Yeah. You did say the Hitman, Whitman, is going to win at Shawano, the opener. Ding, 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 ding. You get that one right. I'm going to leave this one up to you. Okay. Harry Casey will make his debut in Eastern Wisconsin. Right. That's up to you. On our group chat, a couple people going one way, a couple going the other way. I don't care. You make the decision. Is that a incorrect or a correct prediction?
I'm such an honest person. I was probably thinking that it would be a race, and it was a practice that he made his debut in Eastern Wisconsin. So I will say no point for that.
Okay. All right. So I can't do the math. So I'm kind of reeling you in here. I had nothing come off the board because I kind of pushed everything a little bit.
I'm making a lot more bolder predictions than I was earlier in the year.
You are. So I have 15 correct, 33 incorrect, 16 on the board with a 31.25 average here. Bert, you had 22 correct. Now you'll have, well, until we update it, 22 correct, 33 incorrect. Same amount of incorrect, but you have 7 more right. Now you're going to have 1 more incorrect. You were at 40%. You'll be just under 40. So you're still ahead of me, but I'm slowly but surely closing the gap. Here. Our listeners are 0 for 3. So if somebody wants to be bold here and, jump on here. In fact, they do this on Purple Daily. I'll be honest, we stole this from Purple Daily, one of my favorite shows. So we're doing Vikings things just for Bert. And if a fan or somebody wants to jump on here for just this little segment with 3 bold predictions each week, let us know. We'll get you on here. We can add you in. So Bert, moving on to this week, I'll let you go first. Give me 3. Well, give me 1 at a time. Give me your first bold prediction for this week.
A Pennsylvania driver will win at least 1 World of Outlaw feature late model this weekend.
Okay. A Pennsylvania-based driver will win at least one of the World of Outlaw late model races this weekend. I'm going to go with the Double One Express. Pat Dorr is going to win at least 1 Challenge Series A main this weekend. either Fergus Falls or Oak.
I'm going to go with AJ Demo will win the Dirt Kings feature at Red.
I already said that one. You got to add to that now. Yeah, you can't copy me here. I picked that last week. So I said AJ Demo was going to win the opener. So you can add to it.
All right. No, I'll say Nick Avalink will finish on the podium at Red Cedar Speedway in the Dirt Kings feature.
Okay. I'm going to go with, out of all of our picks, we got multiple picks this week, and we don't really have any series running 3 shows. They're all running 2, so that kind of narrows it down. But out of all of our races that we're picking this week and all the series, at least one driver is going to double up with feature wins this weekend.
Okay. And for my last one, I'm actually going asphalt on this one. And I'm going to go Ty Majeski will win the big ASA feature at North Wilkesboro this week. It's a late model show, but there's a ton of NASCAR drivers that are going to be racing in it. So Ty Majeski.
Bring that back to the Midwest where it belongs. Yeah. That's a good pick. I like it. I'm gonna take a homer one. I'm gonna go to my old stomping grounds, Hibbing Raceway. They open up this week in Hibbing, Minnesota. If you can't be there, Dirt Race Central will have the action live. Kid that I kind of took under my wing for a while, a little controversial like me. That's why I like him. Tristan LaBarge will win the opening night Wissota Superstock A main at the Hibbing Raceway. So there you have it, Bert. Episode 177 in the book. Any closing thoughts before we jump off here?
No, just it was good to hear the roar of engines, smell some racing fuel, and see some racing action.
Yeah, 100%. I might be going to Hibbing this weekend because my brother actually has his first kid on the way. Bert, it's a boy. And I'm just saying that if my brother loves his future child, he's going to start putting money away for a race car. I'm just saying, right? He needs to do that. So I'm going to be up there. Evidently, baby showers now is a guy and girl thing, I was told by my sister. So I'm going to go up there with my daughter, my dad, my brother. We're going to barbecue and talk about how cool we used to be. And well, if I'm up there, I'm probably going to maybe catch a race with my dad up in Hibbing on Saturday as well. So hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Of course, if you ever have any feedback, any questions, any thoughts, hit up Bert, hit up myself, hit up Puka, hit up the show, whatever you want to do. Be sure to check out our Blast to the Past episode. So anybody, think about 177, number 77. We have a show coming out this week that's going to talk, a little turn back in time. Check out that content. And this week there was a bunch of racing happening. The top 10 power rankings will be out this week. Check out that content as well. So I'm Ryan. That is Bert. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.